Hi everyone, this is Dr. Serge, the nutrition scientist. Today we're gonna start a series of videos about MTHFR. A lot of people requested and asked me my opinion and some help when it comes to this big new topic out there. Uh, and there's a lot of confusion and myth and misconception when it comes to MTHFR mutations and what it can do on the body. So we're going to take our time to go over a few facts, a few myths, and misconception when it comes to this specific topic. So I'm going to take my time in the next videos to really go over a few basic concepts. Okay. First off, I wanted to start with this quote that I read some time ago is, have you ever noticed that when you present people with facts that are contrary to their deepest held belief, they always change their minds? Me neither. In fact, people seem to double down on their belief in the teeth of overwhelming evidence against them. The reason is related to the worldview perceived to be under threat by the conflicting data. So we can see that in a few different topics when it comes to health and nutrition is, for example, we see this all the time when it comes to vaccination. On that side, we have those vaccine promoters, they believe that vaccines are safe. On the complete opposite side, we have the anti-vaxxers that believe that vaccines cause issues. And we also see this conflicting data when it comes to like veganism or keto or paleo diet or carnivore diet. So we have those different extremes. Even though we look at the same science, we have a different opinions when it comes to how to look at that science. I wanted to cover this concept today because we're going to go over a few things when it comes to MTHFR that you may not be aware or that you didn't realize there was not quite a fact. It was a misconception. Okay. First of all, let's ask this simple question is, what is folate? Okay. So folate is a family of 8 B vitamins. Okay, and it's needed to make red and white blood cells, for example, okay, as we can see in the bone marrow. It's used to convert carbs into energy and make DNA, for example. So folate and its members have a lot of different functions in the body. Okay, the two main ones that we hear a lot about today is these two. Okay, so let's take the time to go over these two. And we can see here that we have what we call folic acid. And a lot of people are confused when it comes to those terms. So folic acid is believed to be the synthetic version of folate, which is this one. Okay, so folate is believed to be the natural compound coming from greens, for example, from food. But this is a myth. You may be surprised. But folic acid, back in the days, like in the 40s, for example, when we started to study and look at B vitamins, folic acid are called, the chemical name, it's PGA. Okay, so PGA or folic acid is the same. So as we go today, we're gonna refer to folic acid, which is PGA. So PGA was extracted from the liver back in the 40s. And from green, like spinach or kale. So my point of that is folic acid is a natural B vitamin, and people keep saying that it's synthetic. Yes and no. Today, we can make folic acid in the lab, but we can also extract it from food. And we're gonna cover that specific point in a few more slides to really support this claim. Okay, and the ironic thing is folate or methylfolate. Today, when most people buy it, actually it's coming from a synthetic version. So as we're gonna see later in these videos, so methylfolate or folate, it's really hard to extract from food. Yes, you can find it from food, but it's really hard. You would need a lot to make pills and supplements out of it. Okay. As you can see in this diagram, this is the chemical diagram of folic acid as opposed to THF, tetrahydrofolic acid, sorry. So as we can see, the folic acid is the most stable form. That's why it's easy to make supplements and pills out of them because it's really stable in the bottles. As opposed this version, which is again synthetic actually, when we can buy it, it's not as stable, so it's called reduce. Okay, that's why we hear a lot more about folic acid supplements, and that's why there's a lot more research done on folic acid. And folic acid has been used for 80 years by people, and there's more than 40,000 research papers that were done on folic acid. So folic acid, as we can see, is really safe to use. So let's get into a little bit more the pathway of the MTHFR. So let's start simple. Okay, in this diagram, so we have folic acid on this side. Okay, and folic acid, when the cell takes it, it's converted to DHF. Okay, and once this DHF is made, this enzyme DHF reductase transforms DHF into THF. Okay, and through a series of pathways and mechanisms, THF is recycled back into folic acid and DHF. Okay, and these different compounds are actually used to make DNA, for example. It's used to process carbs to make energy, for example. Okay, this is really the simple version of this pathway. Okay, I want to start simple, and then next step, we're gonna look a little bit more in detail what is folic acid as opposed to methylfolate. Okay, as like we just saw, so we have folic acid at the top, and then we have THF, for example, and you have those different compounds, and this compound is used to make DNA, is used for cell to replicate. Okay, it's used to make amino acid by the body. Okay, and one of the main functions of this compound is it is converted or transformed into methylfolate. Okay, we hear a lot about that. If you have an MTHFR mutation, you need to use a methylfolate. Okay, we're gonna cover that in the next slide. So once you have methylfolate, so this methylfolate is recycled back into THF. Okay, and it does that by using homocysteine. Okay, homocysteine, a high level of blood homocysteine, is a sign there's inflammation. So it's a marker of inflammation. Okay, so when this homocysteine is made by the body, so the body has to get rid of it. Otherwise, you have a higher risk of having heart disease, for example. Okay, so with the help of methylfolate, homocysteine along with B12 is used to be converted back into THF. Okay, and in this process, the body makes methionine, okay, an amino acid that the body needs to make protein. Okay, the other aspect of this slide, of this pathway, is this homocysteine, okay, is needed to make glutathione, okay, GSH. So with the help of B6, homocysteine is converted or transformed into this compound. And as you may know, this chemical is used by the liver, for example, to detox. So this is one of the issues that we see sometimes with people, is when they're not able to detox well heavy metals like aluminum, mercury, and so on and so on. So they don't make enough of this compound, which they have an issue with detox. Okay, so glutathione is used to detox, like I said, and it's used as well for cell death or apoptosis. So when the cell gets injured or get disease, like cancer cell, for example, the cell needs to die. So apoptosis will kick in and the cell will die. Okay, this compound is used as well to neutralize free radicals. So we know free radicals are compounds that leads to aging. Okay, it leads to oxidation, inflammation, and different issues. Okay, so we really need this compound to get rid of free radicals. So glutathione is used to make bile. Okay, bile is used by your body, by the gallbladder and liver, to absorb fat. okay, from your food, your diet that you eat. So if you don't make enough of this compound, so you most likely don't make enough bile, which lead to a malabsorption over time. Okay, we can see from this slide that we need a balance between methylfolate, homocysteine, and THF. If we disrupt this balance, we can have more homocysteine in the body, leading to heart disease or cardiovascular issues like stroke. You can have an issue with detox as well. Okay, so these pathways have to be balanced by different compounds that we're gonna cover in the next few slides. Like we need B6, for example, we need B12, okay, and so on and so on. Okay, and then there we are, we have MTHFR. So in this pathway, this compound, which we call it C in this slide, is converted into methylfolate. Okay, so MTHFR is the enzyme that makes this conversion happen. Okay, so people with MTHFR mutations, for example, people will say that because this enzyme has a mutation, it convert into methylfolate, and that's why you have to take methylfolate to really have this pathway up and running. Okay, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to this, so we're going to cover that in a few minutes. So the funny thing in all that is there's more than 40 mutations that affect MTHFR, but so far 2 are known to affect people. Okay, as we can see in this slide, you have these 2 mutations, C to T and A to C. We're going to cover that in a minute. So, see, this is what we need to know about MTHFR. So the MTHFR gene contains instructions for making the enzyme, like I said, to convert, to get to that methylfolate stage, okay? So the MTHFR also helps recycle back homocysteine, like we just talked about, leading to the formation of methionine, okay, a building block for protein, okay? So as we know, as we are aware today, is we have 2 main mutations, even though there's more than 40 mutations known to affect this enzyme. Okay, so the homozygote, okay, meaning you have 2 bad mutations. Okay, about 10% of people in the state will have this state. Okay, C to T mutations twice in their genes. So the MTHFR activity is down to about 30%. Okay, this is a really important number. We're going to come back in a few minutes. Okay, it is often associated with high homocysteine level, not necessarily all the time, but often. Okay, meaning it's not because you have these genes, these 2 mutations, that you will have a high homocysteine level. Okay, it is believed that these mutations are associated with depression, anxiety, mood swings in some people. Actually, there's more than 600 conditions that people believe are associated with these mutations. I say associated because these mutations, if you have them, do not lead to these conditions. There's an association there. There's a lot more at play in this. Okay, it would be not logical to believe that these 2 mutations will lead to 600 conditions. It just doesn't make sense. There's a lot more involved in this pathway, which we cannot cover and try to address. Okay, 1 mutation, okay, the activity of this enzyme is about 65%, okay, a lot higher, okay, and people with 1 bad gene, they are normal, they don't have any clinical issues, there's no problem, okay. On the other side, this is really the main mutation that people are concerned, because they say that if you have that mutation, you cannot detox, for example. You have an issue to eliminate toxins, heavy metals and chemicals and stuff like that. Okay? On the other side, people having this mutation, the 2 mutations, the activity of the MTHFR enzyme is about 60%, and 5% of the population have these 2 mutations. And these guys appear normal. They don't seem to have any issues at all. Okay. Good. So let's recap a little bit on this. Okay. So meaning that we know that folic acid, when enters this pathway, is converted into methylfolate with the help of this enzyme MTHFR. So when there's mutation affecting the MTHFR, so what people believe is this side of the pathway shuts down, and this is not happening, so the body is not making methylfolate, and that's why they recommend to take methylfolate supplement to help compensate for the lack of methylfolate that the body can make. Okay, and we know that if you cannot make methylfolate, the homocysteine gets higher, leading to a risk of heart attack. This is well studied. There's a well-known connection between a high level of homocysteine and heart issues and cardiovascular issues. Okay, it's really important that your body makes methylfolate so we can get rid of this bad compound. Okay, this is really toxic for the body. Okay, so let's look at this for a few minutes. Okay, so for example, like it says here, so the genetic department of the Cleveland Clinic, one of the most renowned research hospitals in the world, says, but there's also a cheaper and more accurate way to test for whether the MTHFR mutations are causing disease. Today, there's several companies out there like 23andMe, for example, that you can send your DNA out and they can check if you have those mutations. Okay, but like I said, it's not because you have those mutations that you necessarily have clinical symptoms or issues. As a matter of fact, sometimes I see people with mutations and they're okay. They don't have an issue with detox or anything like that. And sometimes I have people, they have a wild type, no mutation, no gene issues, but they have issue with detox and they have a high homocysteine, for example. Okay, so the simple test to see if this pathway is working good in your body is to look at the homocysteine level. So meaning that if this is high, it means that this pathway is not working properly. Okay, maybe you don't have enough B12. Maybe you have a B6 deficiency, a B1, a zinc deficiency. Maybe your body is not able to make methylfolate. So simply, clinically, the best way to look at if this pathway is good is to look at the level of homocysteine. It's cheap, easy, any doctor can do that. So this is it for this pathway. So this is it for part 1. Okay, so we're gonna end there, and then we're gonna see you for part 2 in the next video. Thank you for watching. This is Dr. Serge. Have a blessed day.